Wife 11-year, 2 kids 11 and 9. She cheated for 8 months. I knew for the last 3, still working on it. To cut a long story short, I've been married to my wife for 11 years and have 2 children, ages 11 and 9. I knew she cheated for the last 3 months, since she cheated for 8 months. I didn't approach her until I had evidence, including video, and a solid lawyer's separation agreement in hand. This happened around 9 months ago, and I'm guessing it's referred to as D-Day in this country. I sat around waiting for her to return home from her AP. She had no notion I was aware of anything. She became really frightened the moment she seen me sitting at the table, so I invited her to have a seat because we needed to chat. I was really exhausted at this point and didn't care. I had concluded that divorce was the only option the day I found out. Wife sits down, appearing terrified. "Mrs., you're frightening me? What is the point of this?" Myself, "I'm not here to talk about your infidelity, I already know everything. I'm here to help you figure through our divorce and separation." I placed my wedding ring on top of the packet that contained the separation agreement and pushed it in front of her. The wife begins begging, apologizing, and imploring. Everything you'd expect. We're getting nowhere, so I'm just throwing whatever she comes up with back in her face. "I adore you. Me, you've hurt me the most I've ever been hurt, and you're sleeping with other men because you love me so much?" After a few hours, I advise her to check into a hotel, and that will continue tomorrow. I inform her that if she does not sign the separation agreement, I would tell everyone what she has been up to today. I know I signed under pressure, but at the moment, all I wanted was for it to be done. She eventually signs, she departs, and I receive texts and phone calls all night. I occasionally respond in one quick response. Specifically, "I will not read this message or talk to you until tomorrow afternoon." The next day, the gravity of the situation dawned on her. She begs for another chance, MC, etc., and she is willing to go to any length. I told her I'd file on Monday, and that she had 90 days to persuade me that divorce is a bad idea. I'm not sure why I offered it. I was tired, I decided to call it quits, and I just folded. The next day, I had prepared a list of things she needed to do. I didn't show it to her. Instead, I informed her the list existed, and that unless she followed it, we would be separated from the kids and the divorce would be irreversible, and I would inform everyone of what she had been doing. I also informed her that even perfect compliance was no assurance that we would not divorce, that my trust in her was at nothing at this time, and that I no longer loved her. She destroyed everything we had, and the only reason I considered reconciling and starting over was because of our children. I didn't want to say this. Once again, I was unable to carry out my plans. The following were on the list. She had to make a record of everything she had done with him, tell how it began, and what gave her the right to do this to me and her own children. All of my efforts would be futile if she cut corners, rose-colored anything, or omitted anything. She has complete access to all of her social media accounts, phones, computers, salary, and bank statements. She would always tell where she is and what she is doing. Only afterwards I see for her 2 to 3 times a week till she could grasp her own decisions. She agreed, created the list, and granted me access. Then I told her about points 5, 6, and 7 in order, only after she completed each assignment. 5. She had to meet with AP's wife face to face, tell her everything, hand over all of the evidence she had, and volunteer to testify in court if necessary. She initially declined, claiming she couldn't do that to him. I reminded her that she chose AP's sentiments before her own family. This reconciliation attempt would be over if she didn't do this. If she didn't, I was going to notify AP's wife. There was no willingness on my part if she wouldn't own it. If I had to tell her, there was no way we could ever reconcile. Finally, she agreed and told AP's wife everything. AP's wife slapped, kicked, pulled her hair, and yelled at her. Wife accepted it and did not fight back. I didn't shield her. She had several as well as some bald areas. After that, in the car, I informed her that AP had been seeing another woman in addition to my wife, and I gave her the evidence from the private investigator I hired. I'm ashamed to admit how much I relished seeing her agony as she realized she was nothing more than a piece of meat to this guy. 5. She had to explain herself to the children and the potential outcome for our family. 6. Tell everyone in our family and friends what she had done to them. 7. I'd have an affair for 3 months, lie to her face, and sneak around behind her back. Form a strong emotional bond with another lady. I needed her to comprehend what she was asking me to forgive, the humiliation, the suffering. She'd understand that we were taking a chance that I'd fall in love and leave her for my AP. I would tell her the truth at the end of 3 months. Number 7 was very difficult for both of us. I would sneak around and pretend to be cheating. I had Tinder installed and would show her snippets of it now and again. I'd pretend to be surreptitiously texting. I'd go out and stay out all night. I'd go away for the weekends. In actuality, I was seeing no one. I only stayed in hotels, leased cottages, and stayed in Airbnbs. Most of the time, I'd simply get drunk and cry. Wife was becoming increasingly agitated, and I was feeling horrible as well. I despised it. I was hardly able to accomplish it, and I was simply pretending? She did it so effortlessly. This is the most difficult aspect for me. I can't see her in the same light. I wanted to show her what she had asked me to forgive, but instead I discovered what a nasty person it takes to do this to someone else. We're now an MC, and she's making good progress while I'm not. I think some days are worse than others. For the time being, I'm keeping the divorce papers on hand since, for some reason, I haven't pulled the trigger. I'm not sure whether I understand why. We haven't been intimate or close, but we aren't fighting anymore, so I think that counts as progress. She is really sorry, and I know we still have a long way to go. Who knows where this will lead us? I can't get over how bad I felt while I pretended, yet she did it so effortlessly. I just can't see her in a good light. She strikes me as a monster. I wish I could have terminated it on the first day, but now that I've dragged us both this far, I can't. Is there any way I can stop seeing her like this? I've forgiven everyone else, I simply can't get over this one. Edit. I told her that after only 7 weeks, I hadn't been seeing anyone. I couldn't put up the act any longer. I felt terrible as a result of it. Thank you for all of your useful feedback. I'll take my new insights and see if I can make any headway. If anything works, I'll publish an update in a few weeks. Update. My wife and I stayed up all night after I showed her the post yesterday. Here's an update, as well as some thoughts and reflections. We are well aware that our odds of success are slim, and that it will most likely be many years before we are out of the woods. But we both agreed this morning that we are willing to give it a shot. Some of what I said and many of the reactions she received completely destroyed her. Nonetheless, we were able to have a genuine dialogue, which we both strive for but do not always achieve. To everyone who used absolutes when speaking to me, it's a very different experience to be in the center of something like this than it is to observe it from the outside. Nothing is simple or straightforward. Emotions are overpowering, and even opting to get out of bed in the morning to start a new day is difficult. If I were to try to express how difficult it is to think clearly and make excellent decisions, I would say this. Imagine that you are living your life, that you are on top of a mountain, that you can see in all directions, and that you have no doubts. You have a clear mind and thinking. You understand who you are, what you want, and where you want to go. Then image being snatched off the mountain's peak, thrown in a dark locked coffin, and whirled around so fast that all your blood flows down to your legs. You're almost passing out, you can't think straight, you're feeling queasy and dizzy, and you want to vomit more than anything. This is the only way I can describe the trauma my brain went through. In such a state, I'm certain to make some poor decisions. In this state, I believe everyone will make poor decisions. To some who claimed we were endangering our children, we disagree. We spoke with our children, and they are grateful that we informed them and kept them involved in our efforts. As my youngest expressed it, it's my family too. They believe us more than we believe ourselves, and they appreciate that we seek their advice and thoughts. We have been extremely clear in informing them that we would not allow it if they choose sides. We've also made it abundantly obvious that none of this is their fault or duty. They have told us that they enjoy being involved and assisting us both collectively and individually. They will offer encouraging words and extra hugs when they believe we are in need. They understand that this may not be fixable, but they have informed us that they will be unhappy if we give up without giving it our all. The first few months were quite difficult, but now that things have settled down, they are grateful for the opportunity to participate. Some of their pals are in situations where their families are dissolving, and they feel like mushrooms, kept in the dark and fed. So our children appear to be better off than we are. And I just hope we don't let them down too much. To those who thought I was insane and couldn't understand how I could be so tough and abuse my wife while offering reconciliation. To be clear, I had no intention of contributing anything on D-Day. I was determined to terminate it as soon as possible. I was still determined to do so when she returned the next day, offering to do everything and begging me to give her a chance. I couldn't do it at the time. I couldn't abandon her. I felt weak, ashamed of myself, and angry because I wanted her to suffer. But I still loved her deep down, I just couldn't confess it or end it. I took some time to think about it, created a list, and made my requests. I never anticipated her to accede to the most difficult terms in my wildest dreams. I didn't expect her to inform the AP's wife, nor did I expect her to tell our children, family, or friends, and I certainly didn't expect her to support me in my fake revenge affair. To be honest, I didn't want her to give up, but I also didn't want her to suffer. I was certain that her pain would make me feel better. It didn't work. I couldn't deny that she was honest, that she wanted to sort things out, that she was sorry for what she had done as she did all I requested. She has done everything she can to reconcile, but I must admit that I have not. I've been looking for a cause to give up and leave, or to force her to give up and leave. I've been really harsh at times, I've unleashed my rage on her, and I'm a terrifying guy. She has simply accepted it. She makes no attempt to justify herself. I'm not sure I trust her when she says she's never been terrified of me. She assures me that she is aware that I would never physically attack or harm her. I'm not so sure of myself. I've been dangerously near a few times. I pray I never, ever cross that line because I am frightened of irreparably injuring or killing someone. To those who inquired about her motivations for doing so, we've come to the conclusion that she felt stuck and trapped. Our way of life was to be secure and comfortable. It hit her hard after her best friend died, and she was prey to a snake charmer who understood precisely what kind of nonsense to throw at her. She now feels duped and has a difficult time reconciling her choices with the person she thought herself to be. We discovered that her AP has a practice of cheating on his wife with 2 to 3 women at a time since before they started dating. We also discovered that he has 2 illegitimate sons. In my case, I had not really committed to reconciliation. I am a really tough person who can take and dish it out. I managed to persuade myself that if my wife suffered, I would be fine just walking away if I could find a good enough excuse to give up. I was mistaken. I've been looking for reasons not to get close to her again, because I was and still am very wounded. I was afraid of allowing her to get too close and getting harmed again. This has prohibited us from making any significant headway toward reconciliation. She has been the only one who has been completely committed. Several people have asked me if I am equally adept at dispensing love as I am at dispensing punishment, and the answer is no. But I'm working on it right now. I've forgiven her, but I've kept her at a distance in order to find a cause strong enough to override my love for her and allow me to leave. I intend to rectify that and make a serious attempt to reconcile. If we fail, we fail, but I will give it my all from now on. Even if it means risking further injury. Many people condemned my wife, while others pointed out that she was only human and made some poor decisions. As things stand now, I am in control of the repercussions of her poor decisions, which is not a position I choose to hold. I've given this a lot of thought because I too make errors, act erratically, and may be nasty to her at times. Punishing her has literally driven me insane with resentment and rage. I have no control over it at times. She made some poor decisions and lost control, just like I am still doing. We're both just regular people. I need to work with you to figure out how to get through this. I'm going to get off my high horse and try to be 50% of this relationship and 50% of the effort to work things out. What about my wife? The day following D-Day, she realized I was dead serious. There was no place to run, no pardon, nothing. She knew her odds of saving her family were minimal at best, but she was willing to do anything. It's evident today that she never truly loved AP, she was more interested in the thrill, the dream. She expressed gratitude for my ironclad, rock-solid approach. It jolted her out of her affair haze, knocked some sense into her, and refocused her on what was important. She also thought her punishment was justified, which encouraged her to stop hating herself so much. She has praised me profusely for not letting her down and for persevering. She is punishing herself more severely than I ever did. She has even contemplated suicide, although she did not do so at the time because she felt she would get off too easily. I discovered that she had been torturing herself since D-Day, beating herself and pinching herself with pliers. I'm talking about the entire backside of her leg being purple. It's a single, continuous black mark. This is, of course, ineffective. Instead, we have agreed to concentrate on her forgiving herself. We will not be able to heal unless this occurs. It's odd in a way. Now that she only wants to punish herself, she has lost all of the characteristics that drew me in the first place. Her sense of humor, grin, well-thought-out opinions, self-esteem, loving patience, and so on. I don't think it's beneficial for me to redevelop feelings for her when her punishing herself suppresses the very qualities I like in her. The reasons I met her and married her in the first place. Overall, owing to all of the nice strangers on the internet, we've made some progress. We still have a long way to go, but we've identified some major roadblocks to overcome. We did, however, sleep in the same bed for the first time since D-Day, so there's something. It felt good to be able to sleep next to her again. I still love her, and I'm ashamed of myself for doing so. But then I remember my children, and it gives me the motivation to keep going. We shall strive to forge a new relationship now that the old one has ended. Thank you once more, everyone. Update 1. This will be my final activity on this account. It has served its purpose, and I am grateful for everyone's assistance. It's been difficult at times, but I'm fine, or should I say we're fine. Things have improved dramatically since I chose to make a concerted attempt to reconcile. We've even rekindled our friendship. My wife, or my old wife, the one I fell in love with, is beginning to appear more frequently. We go to a lot of therapy, we're getting better at communicating, and we've started being intimate on a regular basis. We're still in the early stages, and the odds are stacked against us, but we're making unexpectedly good progress. I'm trying to show her how much I appreciate her every day, and she's doing the same. I still experience tremendous emotional agony, and she does as well. But, overall, there are more and more pleasant times than bad. I believe we will be fine, people are nice, and I am optimistic about the future. Thank you to the nice online strangers that assisted me in my hour of need. Update 2. As a result, we are separated. We were making good progress on reconciliation, and my wife did almost everything correctly from the start. She has a hard time forgiving herself since she despises herself. On the other hand, I was able to keep my emotions under control for a time. And this was the issue, my emotions were still seething beneath the surface. Emasculation, betrayal, falsehoods, humiliation, rage. As a result, I resorted to my old ways of being harsh, vengeful, and angry. And I no longer want to be that guy. So we split off to gain some space. For the sake of the children, we will return to attempting reconciliation later. So that's the situation. Sometimes it's impossible to reassemble Humpty Dumpty. I'm not optimistic that we'll make it in the end.